Welcome back to Excel tutorials. This is Excel tutorial number 3. In this tutorial we'll be learning about cell references and basic formulas. Before we begin, let's open up an on-screen keyboard. And let's open up a text document in Notepad. Some of the things that we're using in formulas in Excel is parentheses and brackets, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and exponents. So for addition, Excel uses the plus sign, 2 shift plus 2. Subtraction, Excel uses the minus sign for subtraction, 2 minus 2. Excel uses the asterisk for multiplication, 2 shift times 2. Excel uses the forward slash for division, 2 forward slash 2. And Excel uses the caret for exponents, 2 shift caret 2. So these are some of the operators that Excel uses for simple formulas. Okay, we can close that now, and we can open up an Excel document. Here we have a fictitious company with fictitious products and fictitious profits. So on the first tab or sheet we have income. We named this sheet income. Second tab we named unit profits. And we're going to discuss cell references from one sheet to another and from cell to cell. So in this cell we have our profits, in this cell we have our sales. In this cell each item has a number of sales entered in to each cell. And we need to get a total of that number at the end. And in this cell we have profit per unit, units sold, and income. And we need a total at the end of these cells. So just a quick look at some of the things we did in the other 2 videos. We learned how to create tables and how to format the cells in these tables. So in these cells we have different colors formatted in the cells. So in this cell we notice that the products are difficult to read. So what we can do is select this cell and increase the font and change the font color to white. We can make it bold. And now this product is easier to read. We can copy that formatting down to the rest of the cells by grabbing the fill handle and dragging it down. And that copies the formatting down to the rest of the cells. Now the last cell is difficult to read, so we will go to Format, Auto Fit Column Width. Now we see that we've changed the formatting of the text in these cells so they're easier to read. Now we want to do the same with the others. The easy way is to just copy all of these with Control C. Select the first cell in the next box, Control V, and use the Auto Fit again. And then go over to the next page, Control V again, and Auto Fit. Okay, we've cleaned up our cells so they're easy to read. Now let's get down to some formulas. So now we want to add all of these cells together to get a total. We want to click in the cell where we want the formula to be. And then this formula bar will use the auto sum. That will add all of the cells in that row. Click auto sum and enter. So that adds all the cells in this row and it comes out to 118. Let's click on that cell and we can see the formula here. The formula here starts with equals because all formulas start with equal. And it told Excel to add all of the cells from I5 to T5. And we got the sum of 118. Now we can use the fill handle again to copy this formula down across all of these cells because we want to add all of these cells to get a total down here. So we'll grab the fill handle, drag it down, and now that formula has copied all of these cells. If we click on one of these, we see this one, row 7. So it's I7 to T7, I8 to T8, which is all of these in here, and so on all the way down. Now we want to get these units sold to be entered into these cells here. So we want the total units for S1 here, 118, to be entered in the total units sold here for the S1. So we need to reference this cell to this cell. We click this cell, we select the equal sign, and then we select this cell. So now this cell will equal whatever is in this cell. And we press enter. And as you see, this cell is now populated with whatever is in this cell. If any of these numbers ever change, this total will be updated, and this will also be updated at the same time, because this cell is referencing this cell, and this cell is referencing the addition of all these cells. We'll grab the fill handle, we'll drag it down, and you can see that Excel is now referencing all of these cells over here in units sold. So now we need to find the profit per unit to get the net income over here. And we see that we have a list price, cost per unit, and a profit. In order to get these profits, we need to subtract the cost from the unit list price to get a profit per unit. To get a profit per unit, we need to subtract 500 from 2,000, which would be 1,500. Let's select this cell. We want to get 2,000 minus 500 to show up in this cell. So we go to our formula bar. We start our formula with equal, because all formulas start with equal. And we want to reference this cell first, 2,000. And it shows the cell C5. And we want to subtract the information in the next cell. So we go minus, and we reference the next cell, which is D5. So C5 will be subtracted by D5 to get a result in this cell. We press enter, and we see that Excel has executed the formula of 2,000 minus 500. And it has referenced the cell so that if we change 2,000 to any number, let's do that now. Let's change it to 1,900. And you see it's updated. 1,900 minus 500 is 1,400. That's why we use cell referencing, so that if the data changes, the box automatically updates. Now again, we can select this cell and use the fill handle to use that formula all the way down. So now we have here is 15 minus 1,000 is 501, and so on all the way down. So now we have our profit per unit populated in these cells, and if we change any of these values, these cells will be updated. Now in this cell, we might want to get the profit total. So all we have to do is click in this cell and use this AutoSum function, and it will add all of these to get our profit total. Press enter. And we see here this cell has a line left selected, so we might want to clean that up. Put a line right. And now we have this cell updated with all the information. We want to transfer this information, profit per unit, over to this cell, profit per unit. We need to make this cell equal to this cell, and enter. So now you see that this cell is referencing the cell on this page right here. So we'll go back to income. We'll select that to get the formula for the remaining cells, and we'll just drag it down. Now you see that these cells have all referenced the cells on this page: 14,500, 1902, 14,501, 1902. So now we've updated this column here. Now we need to get the net income over here. In order to get the net income over here, we need to multiply this cell by this cell. So again, we click the box that we want the result to show up in, go to the formula bar, press the equal sign, because all formulas start with equal, and then we reference the cell we want to start with, C5, and then we type times, and then we reference the next cell, D5. We press enter. And now Excel has multiplied this cell by this cell to get this result. C5 times D5 equals this number. And again, we want to copy that formula to all of these cells. So we grab the fill handle, drag it down, and that formula is copied all the way down to all of these cells. If we click this cell, we see that C14 times D14, which is this row here, 14, equals this result. And here again, we want to get a total. So we click this cell. In order to get a total here, we're going to use the AutoSum command again, because we want to add all of these cells together. So we go up here to the AutoSum and press enter. And now Excel has added all of these cells together. If we click in here, we see that this cell is orientated to the left. Clean that up by changing the orientation to the right. And that gives us a total for the net income for the profits of 2019. So I want to see the total number of units sold. So we'll go down here and click this again. AutoSum. Enter. Reference to the left. And there we go. That's how we use cell referencing and basic simple formulas to populate cells automatically. Because this is referencing cells on this page, any changes made to these cells will be reflected in here. For instance, profit per unit 1400. We go over here and change the unit price to 2200. Enter. So now this cell has been updated. The total has been updated here. The profit per unit has been updated here. Income has been updated here, and so on. So that is the strength of cell referencing changes made are automatically updated to all the cells that we are referencing. So let's make a change to units sold. We are getting our units sold by referencing these cells over here. Let's say, for example, that the S4 had a problem and returns started coming in, but instead of entering a negative value in these cells, someone entered a positive value. Instead of this being a positive 4, it should be a negative 4 because these were returns and not sales. Let's say, for example, that on January 6 were sold, so that is a positive. But the remainder of these cells were all returns and all negative. Excel has a sum function and a product function, addition and multiplication, but it doesn't have subtraction function. In order to create a subtraction for all of these cells have to become negative. And rather than having to change each one to a negative so that they subtract from 6 instead of add to 6, we need to create a box over here. So we will create a box here. We'll select this cell. And if we're going to reference this cell, it has to have the same formatting as these cells, which has a black border around it. So we will click borders and we'll click all borders. Now you see we put a border around it. If we didn't and we referenced just a plain cell, all the borders would be removed from the cells that we are referencing. And we don't want to do that. And now we'll click in here and we'll put -1. We're doing that because we want to change all of these to a minus without having to do them individually. Okay, now we have our -1 in this cell. We're going to use it as a cell reference to change all of these numbers to negative. We select the cell, we go Control C, then we select the cells we want to be negative. We right click, use paste special. We have all selected, that's good. Then we want to use multiply, not subtract, because this will make all of those cells negative. And we press OK. Now that is paste special has made all of these cells negative rather than having to go through and change them all to a negative individually. We press enter and you see that pressing enter changed all of these to a -1. That's definitely not what we wanted to do, so we go Control Z, or we can use undo on the quick access toolbar up here. We're back to where we were. We use the escape key so that all of these values remained the same instead of being changed to a -1. Now we have the -198 in here. We have a total of a -198 here. Also a negative of 198 here. And 4503 multiplied by -198 is this negative number here. And now our total has been updated with the costs of the returns for the S4. So now you can see the power of cell referencing and formulas. Every change will be updated as all the cells are updated with any changes that we make. Now we don't need this box anymore. We can delete the box, or we can delete the entire row. Now let's take one more example. We're going to copy this line over here. With Control C. Let's go over here where there's more room. Place it in here. Control V. We want to change this. We want to multiply 3 times 15 times 8 times 6 and so on. So we want to multiply all these numbers and get a result in this box over here. In order to do that, we just simply change this function to product, because product is a function for multiplication. So that will multiply H3 all the way to S3. So we're going to change that. Product, and enter. Now you see that this has been updated. If we click on it, you see that we multiplied all the way down, 3 times 15 times 8 and so on, all the way down the line, and we got this number. So that's another function if you have a lot of cells with numbers and you want to multiply them all by each other. And how we got that is we use the auto sum first, and then we change sum to be product. Let's take another look at some formulas. We want a 3 here and a 3 here. We want total here. So we want 3 times 3. We want a total here, equal sign. And then you want to reference the cell, G6. Then you want to multiply by the next cell, multiply, and then reference the next cell, G7, and then enter. And now the total is 12 here. And any changes we make to these cells is updated in this cell below it. Also, another quick trick for saving time is rather than having to go and individually reference these cells, we will select this cell here, use the auto sum command, enter. Now if we click the cell, we see that we've entered a formula into this cell, and it automatically referenced the 2 cells above it. How does that save time? Well, we can use a little trick here, or a cheat as I could call it, and put the minus sign. Let's say we want to subtract 3 minus 5. We just simply put a minus sign in here, because in the formula it has to do what's in the parentheses and then outside the parentheses. So it will subtract G7 from G6 first and then try to do a sum, but there's no sum to be done, so we'll just add the result to the box. So we go enter, we get a -2. So that is just a quick cheat using the auto sum to automatically reference the boxes above it or beside it. Let's try beside it. Use the auto sum beside it. Enter. In this case, we just want to multiply G6 by H6. So we can cheat again. Put the multiply in there and enter. Because Excel automatically referenced these 2 cells beside this cell when we used the auto sum. So that saved time trying to go and select each cell. So that's some tips and tricks of cell referencing and simple formulas. That's the end of Excel Tutorial 3. Please check back often for more Excel tutorials. And thanks for watching.